Hi, your name, please?
Maggie Kailin.
Maggie, hi, how are you doing? Thank you, Maggie. Who are we commemorating today? Who are we commemorating today? Tell me about him.
This is Clarence, who did everything. He was a union organizer. He was an artist. I mean, he was a photographer. He was a farmer. I mean, he could grow stuff. He could do anything.
And he was a veteran of the Spanish Civil War.
He was a veteran of the Spanish Civil War. And he had a lot of...
He was in the Abraham Lincoln Brigade.
Yeah, he was in the Abraham Lincoln Brigade.
And how long were you married? When were you married?
1939.
1939.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh. Oh, happy to be here today?
Pardon?
Happy to be here today with your friends?
Yeah, I'm with my daughters and their husbands.
Oh, well, thank you so
Are you happy to be here today?
Oh, yes.
Tell me about your pen. Tell me about your pen.
This is a man who is trying to redo every aspect of our government and cancel out everything we have. And we have a demonstration in Madison, Wisconsin. And I want to thank Chicago for taking care of the 14 senators, because they were the ones that made it possible for us to have the demonstration. They were the ones that found out what the governor was up to and refused to go along.
Thank you so very much for those words. Thank you so very much. That was a great interview. Thank you.
Well, I'm Julie Kailin, and I'm here just to celebrate all of these heroes, but especially my father, whose picture is down there, who's Clarence Kailin. He passed away about a year and a half ago. He was a veteran of the Spanish Civil War and a lifelong activist, and so we're scattering his ashes. And my mom is there. I think you interviewed her. And my brother's here. This is John Kailin, my brother, my father's son, and my brother. Right?
Tell us a bit about your father's activism.
The earliest thing I know about him was in the 30s. He and his best friend John Cookson distributed 40,000 copies of door-to-door of a leaflet for unemployment compensation. It was their work that got the first unemployment compensation bill in Wisconsin, in Madison. Well, I guess in the state, actually. And he was a CIO organizer with the Steelworkers Organizing Committee. He was a self-taught historian in black history. He had the largest library of African-American history in the state of Wisconsin. He was one of the first teachers, if not the first teacher, and he could change the curriculum of the schools.
But he was not a teacher. He never went to the university, and he was a janitor much of his life, but he was blacklisted, so he was always living in very minimum economic situation, but he was for the struggle. He never complained about it.
And you've carried on the tradition of education.
Yeah, I guess I did. I actually got into the same field that he and my mother were in, which is black history, although I teach race relations for teachers.
Of course, we're really honored to have Dad's ashes put down here. It's a great place to be.
I don't know if you can notice, but we scattered some of his ashes on the tombstone of Elizabeth Gurley Flynn, who was one of my mother's big heroes. You just interviewed her, but also my father's as well. And we're going to scatter them around, well, to all of them, but there's several that my father was friends with, like Claude Lightfoot, who's here, Henry Winston, these are people that my father greatly admired, taught his kids to follow in their footsteps as well.
If you don't tell the story, few will.
Yeah.
Well, the Lincoln Brigade was the American contingent in a 40,000 strong contingent of workers missionaries who came to at the call of the Republican government of Spain, which had overturned centuries of feudalism and the Catholic Church, and created a democratic government, and against which Franco and 3 other generals led a rebellion. And there was a call to help the country, which the country called, and they were integrated. The International Brigades were integrated into the Spanish Army. The Lincoln Brigade were about 2,800 men. Half of them died there. And in fact, when Julia and I visited with my father, one of the surprising things to us was as much as everybody was highly regarded there, the Americans had a very special place in the Spanish people's hearts, because they were there at the Jarama River Valley that leads into Madrid, in one of the first battles at which Franco had bragged that he had a 5th column, that he had 4 columns of regiments who could destroy Madrid, and a 5th column inside Madrid that was his ace in the hole. And so there was this tremendous battle, and the Jarama Valley was a vicious fight that the Americans, among others, were really known as...
they were thrown into the breach.
They were, yeah. And my father was also at Hill 666, which was really the last bastion of it. And my understanding is that particular battle was so important because, even though it was a feudal fight back, it finally forced the world to realize that these people were so organized and so determined, these people being the Spanish people and the internationals, that if the world community would quit supporting Hitler and Mussolini, that the Spanish people could actually finish this war off and have a democratic future. So that was very powerful. And my father was at that battle, and for 3 days and 3 nights he was the only person with a machine gun that had bullets in it, a Czech machine gun. And he never told these stories when he was so busy with current activities. He never gave war stories until we finally brought him back to the spot, and memories came flooding back to him. I'll just tell you another piece of it is that the Lincoln Brigade was put on the Subversive Activities Control Board list as a communist front, and I forget what the penalties were for it. When I attended a hearing of the Subversive Activities Control Board, in which we had as our representative a woman a lawyer who represented the United States in the Nuremberg trials, and the court consisted of these southern racist, revolting judges, representatives who had nothing to say except lies. It seems as nothing's changed.
That was an experience that few would know about, these hearings. How long did they go on?
I think for many months. For a very long time, yeah. Part of what the brigade members' passports were stamped PA for premature anti-fascist. They were literally declared to be too early to fight fascism, and it was part of the legacy that they brought home with them, that many of them were hounded by the FBI. My father was one of them. He would get a job, and the FBI would show up, and the next day he'd be fired. My father pointed out that many times he was not fired. He was said, "Help me, you get the hell out of here," to the FBI. So there were many experiences like that, but a number of them were quite tragic. But one of the things we said in my father's funeral, or rather in Spain, where he was buried as the first American citizen to be given Spanish citizenship, because of his fight in this Madisonian War. Pointed out that these men all had the qualities that Pablo Neruda wrote about in Contra General, his epic novel, won a prize, a Nobel Prize, I think. And he spoke about these people who would these people who would sleep in the hard beds of their brothers, whose activities were not political, and they're very much from the heart, very full of solidarity and compassion for everybody that suffered. That's really the kind of people they were, and that's of course the best kind of figures you want.
Thanks again.